Hey you guys, ground with me. We're gonna talk about grounding a little bit, but mostly we're gonna focus on the actual grounding. Okay. Should we get up here? Up here. Hey, I see your requests. I need to see some comments before I let you up here because people be tweaking and I don't want to invite any tweakers onto my live stream. This is a serene moment right now. We're grounding. Very relaxing. So this is my setup that I got going on. So I just in my tent and I lay down a blanket. Now it's best to ground when you are on the grass. That's the best way to do it. But you can do it in a tent. So to get away from mosquitoes, to get away from other insects, if you have food, whatever, you can ground inside of a tent that has really good ventilation. Now you can ground in any sort of tent, but the one that I have, it doesn't have like a roof on it. It has a removable roof. You know what I'm saying? Pull up to the sea with my cellar missing. So yeah, you can get one of these or just be regular outside. JT Lightly 78 says, so what is on your mind today, my sister? Well, read the topic and I'm explaining it right now. But are you familiar with what grounding is? So I like to do my nature activities after I get out of the shower or right before I get, well, not specifically the shower, but like when I bathe. I prefer baths over showers regardless, just because sitting and marinating and meditating in the water is so serene. But sometimes showers are necessary. It just depends on like how you get your water messages. Suana said, peace and power. What's good? Peace and power. So I just got out of the bath, out of a meditative state, and I learned some stuff while I was in there. And right now I'm grounding to connect with Mother Gaia. So this is, whether it's part of your health practices specifically or part of your spiritual practices as well, connecting with the planet removes toxins from your body. And it also helps you get into a more harmonic state with the planet. So learning about the lunar cycles, the water cycles, that helps you be in tune with the planetary cycles, along with laying on the ground. Or just having your feet on the ground. So if you don't want to lay your body down, you can just sit, how I'm doing. You can get into this sort of state on your knees and just like that, or whatever you're comfortable doing to ground. As long as you're connecting with the planet, that's what's important. JT Lightly said, yes, when I'm not on the road, I teach my kids and grandkids about prepping and self-sustainability. That's cool. I was specifically talking about grounding though. Also, no shoes to help connect. Barefoot is better. Facts. Of course, the self-sustainability talks are important. It's just specifically this is more curated to the topic of grounding oneself and being at peace with self and the planet. Because this is where we currently live. Now, in other planets, I don't know how other planets work. I just got this. If you live near water, it's good for you to do this in water. So if you're on the beach, do this in the sand near the water on the shore. If you're on a river, do this on the rocks. Where your body's still, above the surface of the water. But your bottom part of your body, whether that's just your feet or you're sitting in the water, you're still connecting with the water and the planet simultaneously. Because water and earth are two different entities. They share the same field, but they're two different entities. Multiple entities, part of one whole. 9013 said, peace, goddess. What's good, peace? How you doing? JT Lightly said, all truck drivers aren't stupid. That's an interesting statement. Well, me personally, I'll speak for myself. Maybe that's a stigma amongst people who have judgments about truck drivers. I never was part of the notion that truck drivers were inherently stupid or unintelligent. There's a lot of, especially masculines on my page, that are truck drivers. And for one thing, y'all are well-traveled individuals because of your work specifically, but y'all pay attention, whether you're online or offline, literally, and you have to observe certain things, whether you're consciously intending to do it or not. So that's kind of funny that you said that. 9013 said, we all need to have a mass meditation in Memphis. Well, I used to do those. When I'll do another one, it depends on when I'm in Memphis and what's going on. Did you ever go to the meetups that I was having a few years ago? Or nah? I just because I still follow like media in Memphis, whether I'm in the city or not. I just seen that there was 3 ODs. I was like, dang, that was in Carterville. That's not even in like South Memphis or Frazier or North Memphis, Orange Mound, nothing like that. It was in Carterville. I'm like, dang, it done got them people too. It done got to them people. Dang, that's crazy. Okay, so like I said, grounding is highly important, and balancing yourself with the planet specifically. And like I said as well, I just got out of the bath and I just washed my ether. So connecting with my ether and the ground is so important for me. That's how I get like a lot of information, whether it's cosmic downloads or something. Most of my stuff is very, very practical for me to apply to my daily life. Because sometimes I do get that super cool cosmic stuff. Then it's like, okay, cool. Now what can I do that I can implement into my life tomorrow? JT Lightly said, I've driven coast to coast for over 25 years in Canada and Mexico, but I have learned how about grounded and meditation from Indians and indigenous people I have met in the traveling abroad. Okay, that's cool. Is that what you want to talk about on the stream? Because I really want to keep it like a peaceful, serene sort of vibe. And just focus on the topic at hand. Because I still see your requests up here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna let you up. Before I do that, we're gonna take a moment to meditate and set the mood. Alright, you guys, so concentrate heavily on heart chakra and solar plexus. Enjoying and embodying the joy itself. Enjoying and embodying the joy itself. Enjoying and embodying the joy itself. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Alright, come on. How's it going?
Get my mic down. It's going good. How you doing, young lady?
I'm great.
Yeah, that's good. Love the energy. I've been watching your feed for a minute and commenting.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, well, I'm in Michigan right now doing a restart, but I was through your well, if you're in Memphis, I was through that way the other day, and a lot of people don't know about that. And I try to teach my kids. Well, I've taught them from a young age because all of them are about grown now. You got to reconnect with the earth. I learned that a long time ago. I've been doing this almost 30 years. You have to reconnect. And it helps create balance because a lot of people don't know what we go through driving a truck. Like I'm in my truck now getting ready to cook some dinner, but that's neither here nor there. But you know, it's changed my lifestyle a lot. A lot of people don't think about that.
Okay.
I'm away from my family and everything like that, but people don't realize the sacrifice we make to keep America moving. I'm not even going to talk about that, but dual citizenship, I'm working on that, and I've been to 28 countries as well. So when I'm off, especially with my kids being grown now, I just travel abroad. I don't use my passport for work anymore. It's more like a slave mentality. But you got to break out the box. A lot of people don't do that. I live just outside of Myrtle Beach, so I'm always on the beach on the regular to a secluded place where I can reconnect and just sit there. And how you connect is different for everybody. You're in a city environment, so it's hard. I know it's hard. I mean, I just came through Chicago yesterday, downtown, and I was like, I don't see how people do it. I can't do it. But reconnecting is everything. Your spirituality, your vibe is everything. Don't lose it. So how are you feeling now? You look like you're just vibing out to the energy waves coming through you right now, sitting on the ground.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm waiting for it to cool off a little bit because I'm older and I don't heal like I used to. But, people think I'm a Muslim or something. I get my yoga mats and go out to a patch of grass at the truck stop out in the corner and exercise and just sit there and meditate. That's how I get my woosah.
I think that's cool. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I've been doing this almost 30 years and I always loved traveling. But I can't live in a big city. I can't.
I feel that.
So when I left Montana, I was looking at some off-grid land, but I don't know if I want to be that close to Yellowstone. But on the coast, I got hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, everything else. But you're in Memphis, and
Well, I'm from
I want.
Memphis. I don't speak about my direct location online, but I am from
Oh, I
Memphis.
don't
That's right.
blame you. Yeah, that area is totally different. When I graduated high school over 20 plus years ago, I wanted to get out of the country, and I moved to Atlanta. And after my first 2 years of driving truck, I couldn't live in the city anymore because if something was to happen, people aren't well connected. Everybody depends on the system. There's no self-sustainability. So if something was to happen, everybody's stuck, and they don't realize it.
Yeah, that's one of those topics where it's kind of doing what you can. So when it comes to people of your caliber, you've had life experience, you've been able, like you say, your children are pretty much grown now. You can do whatever you want to do, and you have that sort of experience, and it's important to share that with the youth. You said you shared it with your children, and that's a beautiful thing. A lot of people miss out on a lot of that stuff, and they don't realize what it actually takes to get to a mindset of being like, okay, how can I meet myself in the middle where somebody may not be able to fully go off grid. Like they were groomed so much into a state of being dependent on certain things, whether that's social constructs, whether that's a certain comprehension of what they think community is. If they come from a big family and the big family is not willing to move off grid with them, the big family wants to stay in the city. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where, okay, how can I meet myself in the middle? If I go off grid, I'm going to have to sacrifice this much. If I stay in the city, I'm not going to be at peace fully. If I find a place that's okay, it's not as booming of a city, but it still has a good aspect. Like you said, Atlanta. So, for example, somebody could move to Lithonia or Smyrna, and it's not quite as congested as like downtown Atlanta would be, but it's still close enough to Atlanta where if their family lives there, they can still have access to them easy. They can still drive to them, but they're far enough away to be like, I ain't got to deal with that energy. I don't have to deal with all the stuff that y'all be dealing with.
Yeah. And see, being grounded is a big part of that because if you can't be grounded in your immediate environment or find a way to be grounded, being grounded helps bring that sense of peace and comfort that you need. And where I'm going to move to is not too far away, but most of my kids are military, so, they could travel and disappear or hang out for a while. I actually bought enough land to build a family compound. And that was a big thing where everybody, I like, you don't have to live out here, but you can have a place to go. And long as you're comfortable and grounded and you feel the vibe, cool. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But, being in the city environment, I watch a lot of your reels, and I'm like, wow, there's always sirens and noise in the background. I know it's hard to be in those environments. You don't have to tell me. I done been to every state, even Alaska and Hawaii, but I mean, it's not for everybody. And a lot of people don't realize that they're not grounded, so that puts them outside of their comfort zone because they're not comfortable, and it makes a difference. But people don't seem to realize that. Everybody's worried about what social media got to say. I could care less. I've been on Instagram. I haven't been on Facebook since 2009, and I'm not big on social media. I'm like, I keep a small circle, and I'm an Aquarius, so, if you're not on my team, I mean, if I want everybody to know what I'm doing every 5 minutes, I'll call them. But I don't do that. A lot of people need to step back from what's in front of them and relate more to themselves. That's how I feel like. And I feel like you're doing a good job of doing that. You're doing a real good job of doing that. You remind me of my youngest daughter who's in basic training now because, she's all natural and, it's just that energy and that vibe you got. That's why I started following you. I saw a couple of your posts. I was like, you know what, she might be on to something. But I might comment, but this is the first time I've ever joined in on something like this. So, I'm not that dude. But, I feel the energy, I feel the vibe, and I think the direction you're headed in, if more people would be more aware like you are in the environments that you're constantly in, a lot would be different, especially with our people,
I do greatly appreciate that. That's really my goal. Because it's one of those things I do have to like double, triple, quadruple check people and be like, hey, what is going on? And like, I got to vibe check a lot. So I do appreciate you coming up here and talking with me about this topic. This is really important. And like, I didn't think that people still found this type of stuff corny. So even the way that I'm showcasing myself doing certain things, I do this in my private time. And a lot of people got wrapped up. Like you said, like if you wanted to showcase what you were doing every 5 minutes, you call somebody. Well, a lot of people would post everything they were doing on social media. I'm an influencer and I happen to be spiritual. So I would post certain things about my spirituality just because that's what I would do as a lifestyle. But there would be people who would make their spirituality their social media presence. And that's not okay. That's how people became ungrounded. That's how they became uncentered themselves. And they made it about the clout. They made it about the comments. They made it about the community. But it wasn't even a genuine community. They based it on the interactions they would get with people versus how they're actually growing spiritually. And the fact that it's really cool you saw your daughter and me, and how like even the whole natural thing versus it being an aesthetic versus an actual lifestyle, and how someone actually lives is more to being natural than just, doing
Yeah.
stuff and looking
Yeah.
natural. Like, you have to actually
Yeah.
eat healthy, you have to actually take care of yourself, you have to actually do stuff like this, like meditation, grounding, being in tune with the planet in more ways than one. And that it's a lot.
Yeah. It is. It is, and people don't take that into consideration. And I'm a vegetarian. Back around 2010, I don't look like it, but I might have. I was pushing 300 pounds, and I was borderline diabetic, and I'm all vegetarian now. And people are like, you don't like meat? I said, yeah, I love meat, but I just can't eat it because it's not good for you. And I said people have survived off of vegetables and fruits for a long time. I could take a smoothie and it's like a steak dinner to me now because I got all of that toxins out of my system because I got grounded. And it makes a difference. And people see me sitting in my yard, just sitting on the grass like you are now, my front yard. And like I said, I live just outside of Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and people are like, what you doing out there? I'm just being me. I'm just feeling the vibe and going from there. And that makes a difference. Everybody doesn't feel that because they're so far out of tune, and a lot of people are delusional because of what they see. Oh, I got to look like this. I got to do this. I tell my kids all the time growing up, don't ever change the image of who you are to please anybody. And that's a big thing. You don't do that. I mean, stay like you are. That other stuff you did, I had to dress up. No, you didn't have to dress up. I put that comment out there. You didn't have to dress up. If they don't like it, if they don't see and receive the message, don't worry about it. Don't change yourself for anybody else. That's what I teach my kids every day. Even when I was married, I didn't change myself for her. And that was her loss because now I'm building an empire with my kids, and she's mad, but still yet, hey, it is what it is. Don't change your image. Be who you are.
And that's a fact. And that's like one of those things that's more taboo about the way that I grew up as an individual versus like other people. So, you're a trucker, your children are military, so it's like very, very structured, very like blue collar, like, okay, we got our thing going on, this is exactly how we're going. And you have that straight line of communication with them in that sort of way. And that's awesome. Oh my gosh. If I could have a normal childhood, I can't say I'd trade it, but it'd be one of those things where it'd just be like, man, I never got to experience anything like that. So I grew up as an artist, and my parents being entrepreneurs. They did dabble like in regular job arenas at times, being school teachers most of the time. At the same time, relying on entrepreneurship and being an artist, it was just an entirely different type of lifestyle than most people are used to. So the way that I do stuff, it's just I really am the type of person, I do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And it's like, when it comes to spirituality, I realized that a lot of people had a religious construct where I grew up as a Christian. At the same time, I was even an oddball Christian. I was not the average Christian. I just go to church and I go because my mom said to, and I keep going as an adult because that was what I was told to do. I would actually sit and read the Bible on my own as a child and see and explore what the aspects of loving this almighty God is. And that was how my spiritual journey even became what it was, where I would read certain scriptures and be like, they never taught us that Yeshua did this. They never taught us that Yeshua did that. And then when we did talk about it, it was in a different context. When if you read the entire chapter, you get more context. And then when you read the 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels, each of those books is the exact same book written from those people's different perspectives. And they never really went into depth about that in the Christian church. I went from the time I was like my mom was pregnant going to church with me. And then I get to be like 16 years old and I'm like, you know what? There's something about this. I'm gonna back up and do my own thing for a minute. And so that construct of religion getting into my own aspect of spirituality and seeing how people tie in their religion to their spirituality, where it's just kind of like, hold up, the same sort of limitations that were placed in religion, you're trying to place on spirituality, when that's totally not the case. You're supposed to, okay, if I'm grounding for an hour and that's just what I was called to do for that particular day, that doesn't mean that the next person needs to ground for an hour. That person may need to ground for half an hour. They may need to ground for 2 hours. Like, you live near the beach, so you might get called to sit in the sand for 2 hours straight. And that's something that makes a lot of sense to me, because I've been connected with the water beings a lot. I don't live near a beach currently. So it's just like, man, if I did live near a beach, I would dedicate, do this, and I would talk to my spirit guides about that. And that'd be a totally different thing. Where someone's in the grasslands, an hour is good. Half an hour is good. It just depends. So that rigidness of religion and changing who you are because somebody else who believes in the same thing in spirituality, they're doing it this way. Like you said, don't change yourself for anybody else. This is your walk. This is your life.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying because my grandfather was actually a preacher, and I have 5 brothers. My mother was the only child, and we grew up in that construct and around the same age, like you said, when you become aware and you look at things differently, like, hold up, and, I was like, a lot of people don't realize that every religion has one thing in common. They all pray to the one or the Almighty. But it's like a contest. I'm like, oh, this religion. I was like, well, why do I have to go to church every Sunday when Jesus preached in the wild? Or why do I have to come hear the word at church when I can hear the word anywhere? Oh, it's not the same. How is it not the same? You get mad because, I'm an owner operator. I own and operate my own truck. I actually had 5 of them at one time. But, you see what I'm making. You worried about me showing up paying tithes more than you giving me the message. And a lot of people fail to realize when it comes to the church, it used to be, what can the church do for you for enlightenment and knowledge? But now it's, what can you do for the church with your wallet? And I learned that around the same age. Like I said, you had that epiphany, like, hold up, something's not right. And, to the day he passed away, my grandfather could not stand me. He's like, oh, you went against everything I taught you. But I'm like, you're teaching me from a book that has been rewritten by man. And I've done my research in my travels. Every other religion came from a prophet or the word of that God that they serve. So you're telling me the words of man, I'm like, there's King James 1, King James 2, and like you said, it's everybody's perspective, but not the actual word. So how can you say you are a person to deliver this message when you don't even know who the message came from? And oh, if I say that, they might as well start stoning me to death. I'm serious. And, that's even out here on the road. There's these religious nuts. I don't say nuts. I try not to say that. That's cruel. But they come at me at the truck stop. Hey, brother, do you believe? I'm like, I believe, but okay, where's your message coming from? Who gave you the message that you're giving to me? You're telling me I got to think this way, but I learned around the same time, Christians have created and done more atrocities to mankind than any other religion in the world. And I said, here you are saying this is the way to go and this is how it has to be, but you massacre millions, thousands, for over thousands of years. But you want me to accept this message that this is the way I need to go? But you tell me if I'm sitting on the ground, oh, that's not right. Really? Last time I checked, Jesus didn't walk around in shoes. He had sandals, but when he took those off to pray and meditate, he was barefooted. But like you said, they don't go into that context. And then there's always the trolls out here say, oh, you're wrong. And my thing is, I grew up literally getting the Bible beat into me. Prove me wrong. Show me in this book where it says that's where is the interpretation? No, show me word for word. I don't want to hear the interpretation. Show me word for word. And like you said, when you connect more to the spiritual instead of the physical or right now, you're an outcast. If I was to go in church right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they called security to throw me out or shoot at me. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm just being real. I mean, I'll probably shoot back, but still, yet, at the end of the day, I'm like, everybody's so focused on what people have told them, not realizing that a lot of the things that's been told to us from public school religions is just a manipulation of the words by man, and they can't break away from it. I say stuck on stupid is a bad disease in this country. It is. It really is.
I definitely agree with that. And First Lady Hollis Voice said, I always say I'm spiritual fruit, not a religious nut. I'm done. Y'all are too funny. But
I love that.
it's a lot. And it's it's taking those concepts that, because I see it as this. A lot of people who are religious don't even realize, since we're talking about like Christianity specifically, they don't even realize that they are the Pharisees in the Bible. And that's the part that be blowing me. Where, okay, meditation, they don't like to look at the fact that certain prophets, certain figures, high level figures in the Bible meditated. Use the exact word meditate. Like, Yeshua came later in the New Testament. You got Old Testament figures meditating on hills, on mountains. And it's like, that's demonized. Like, the actual practice of sitting and being like, that's demonized in the Christian church because of, I don't even know what to call it. Because it's like, if it's in your book that you read, you're not even, like, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. It's a different level of ignorance. It's really a different level of ignorance because it's like they're not, like, they're stupid, but they're not stupid in the sense of they read it through and through and they just didn't get it. No, they're ignorant because they didn't even read it. And that's what a lot of Christians will not tell you, that they never read the Bible. Like, a lot of spiritual people, I've read the entire New Testament. I've read almost half of the Old Testament. Most Christians, in their decades and decades and decades of having the faith, only know the scriptures that they learned about in Sunday service. And that's something that they'll never admit, not knowing that the pastor is saying the same 50 scriptures every week. There's only 52 weeks in a year. You always got the same scriptures for Easter and Christmas every time. That only allows for so many scriptures to be studied throughout the year. So if you're studying the same 50 scriptures every single year, and you still ain't learned much, like, that's the thing that be getting me. And then you mentioned the whole thing of being an owner operator. I like to talk about entrepreneurship more than I like to talk about spirituality any day. So when people have a certain aspect of what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be self-sustaining, what it means to have a sense of self outside of their work, because a lot of people get wrapped up in their career when they work for somebody. Whereas with yourself, you're working for yourself, but you're still your own individual. It's not like, sure, in your everyday talk with people, you may talk about how you are a trucker, but it's like, at the end of the day, you meditate. Like, you're a cool guy. You're the guy at the truck stop and folks are like, is that guy on a mat? Like, really? Like, you're one of those. And it's like, it's really awesome when it's like those people that stick out and stand out and you don't get wrapped up in what it is you do. So with these religious organizations, is what can you do for the religious organization versus what they can do for the people? It's like, okay, so y'all have turned into the Pharisees then. Where's Yeshua flipping tables? Where the Yeshua's flipping all the tables and they don't like that.
Exactly. And, I decided to quit working for everybody else and work for myself because I became my own entity. And a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, you don't get paid. I'm like, the IRS taxes you on what you get paid. If you structure your LLC properly, I'm a manager. Yes, the company makes all the money. The company owns all my vehicles. I get more tax write-offs that way. I am my own entity instead of working for a company where they say, I got to go somewhere. I'm like, I only go where I want to go, when I want to go. I could call my own shots. And in trucking, they got this lie that's been out there forever that, oh, you go out there and make all of this money. No, you got to get the experience first. Out of 27 years of driving, almost 30 years, I've never had an accident. Never. I mean, my insurance company, I got seriously low rates on insurance, and I carry $2 million worth of cargo insurance. So I got high dollar items. But in order to get there, people don't realize you got to put in the work, you got to put in the time. That's like with anything. You have to put in the work, put in the time. Being well grounded doesn't come overnight. When I started it at first, I was like, okay, I'll try today. I'll try next week. I'll try the week after. But when I realized that if I do it every morning and every afternoon and every evening, I could deal with this nonsense I got to deal out here better. Because I'm sitting here, no matter where I'm at, I am meditating. I am calming myself. I am clearing my mind of everything that's going on around me to where I can focus. And my focus brought more things. And everybody's not ready for that journey because it's easy to get distracted. I got 8 kids altogether, not by my wife, but I got 8 kids. I got 4 girls, 4 boys. I started young, and I got caught up in the rapture. I started really driving truck it was the only job I could do where I could pay child support. But at the end of the day, all my kids are seeing now. I'm building 8 duplexes now. I didn't want to do the Airbnb thing because people move in, they don't want to get out. And I told them, I said, let's get a strip mall, do a laundromat, and rent out parcels, fast food restaurant, nail salon, hair salon. Everything that they got to go have is going to make us money. And now my kids were happy because this past year, 2023, we went on a vacation every year. I do 2 family vacations that our trust fund pays for. We are now officially our own bank. And I said, this isn't for everybody to know because most people nowadays, they're looking at a payday. And no, we're our own bank now. So now when you want to go get a car, okay, you're a member of this entity. You're an entity of, well, a member of this trust fund. Okay, go pick out what you want. Trust fund's going to pay for it. You know, just like with my truck, they were all part of my business. Even when they were little, they was on my members. And, you know, I brought them into this, and they were like, you don't have to work hard all the time, but you got to put in the work, but you got to be smart. And a lot of our people have fallen because they don't see that, look, getting it is one thing. Keeping it is a total another thing. No, I'm sorry, you good.
No, you're fine. I was my son just came outside and let me know what was going on with him.
Oh, okay, he didn't debo you. You good. My grandson, he kind of tackles me, so, you know. But, you know, I mean, we need to wake up and realize, especially our people, from what we came from. And I've been to Africa. I'm actually going back to Western Nigeria this year, right after Christmas, and I'm going to spend 3 weeks there, just reconnecting with my roots. And if they would really realize how strong we are, we're all kings and queens, but we have to accept it and know it and keep it here and not let everything that's going on out here feed into the negativity, because that's all we do.
And that what you said was very, very profound. The whole thing, and I wanted to touch on like the specifics of what you said. Where a lot earlier, you were talking about how you're building an empire with your children, and then you went into depth on that, where you're focusing on your passive income. You already did your active income, trucking, and then you got into the word I'm finna say is conservative, but I don't even know. I don't know. The word conservative just keeps like manifesting when I'm finna say it, but in a more personalized way, where you're an owner operator versus working for someone else's company. And then you went into the duplexes and then the strip mall thing. So that's commercial and residential real estate. And look, I know people be like acting weird on my platform for some reason, where it's like, oh, I don't want to do real estate. Y'all don't get it. Everybody doesn't have to flip houses. You don't have to be into, oh, let
Nope.
me hire a real estate agent and do all this other stuff. No, you can literally get into whether it's passive income, when it's people paying you rent in order to stay somewhere or live somewhere, or you can lease off a space, whether you're leasing land itself or you're doing the actual commercial work and doing the renovations, and companies can lease out your spots, and that way you can be a landlord that isn't someone like hovering over a person and their family. You can manage someone's workspace, and it's an entirely different vibe. Hold on, First Lady Hollis' voice said exactly like going to see the same doctor for 30 years who just keeps giving you a new pill per year, but you don't trust holistic healing. Please, that's a man. Yeah, with that religious talk, going to the same church and not growing spiritually, like no. So these are the topics that are so important. Even the trust fund, people don't get, oh, well, you're a trust fund baby. Why is that an issue? Especially our people. It's like our people will see things and be like, oh, that's that white people stuff. So living well is white people stuff.
I don't know where they get this concept from, but if they look at what's going on in the world, and this is what I can't understand. I went to public school. In public school, everybody knows public schools only create worker bees. They want you on a workforce. They don't want you to be smart. They don't want you to be above the grade. They want you to be able to do enough to do the work. But when you aspire above that, a lot of people are like, oh, you think first they, oh, you think you're better. No, I did everything I did in silence because there was too many haters. But like I said, I'm like, if I'm trying to come up, even some of my family members, but as soon as they saw what was coming in, they was like, I actually bought enough land to open up a trailer park, and I'm going to own every trailer in there. But Section 8 housing is another thing in a lot of states in the South that is a big thing. I'm not renting these out to people that can knock holes in the walls. I'm putting them on Section 8. Because why? Section 8 apartments, most of them are getting condemned and everything like that. I see my opportunity to make money where I don't have to be hands-on all the time. I'm hands-on all the time with this truck. I own this truck. I own the trailer I'm pulling. I have to take care of this truck like I take care of my personal vehicles. And everybody's like, oh, man, you make all that money. You could go get this. Why? Being rich and expensive things only appeal to broke people. I worked hard all my life. And I'm like, with everything going on nowadays, and, it's sad that I do have my CWP. And back home, I got to get gas in my Escalade where I got rid of that, but I got a Denali. I'm getting gas, and I got to keep my hand near my gun because I'm scared to get robbed. I might have my grandkids in the car, but somebody might run up on me with a gun. It's to that point. And, I'm like, I'm trying to build an empire where my kids and my grandkids can do whatever job they want and have that passive income they don't have to touch. I'm creating them to be, I said, look, go take these finance classes, become a manager. I said, why pay somebody else to manage our properties when one of y'all could do it? Like the 24-hour laundromat. That's one of my biggest money makers. Because where I got it at in a college town, that's 24 hours practically year round. And it's income I don't have to touch, less maintenance. Something goes wrong, I call somebody. But a lot of us need to put ourselves in positions where you can be the boss, but you don't have to put your hands on everything. Instead of putting your hands on it, make a phone call. Employ the small guy who's trying to come up. I don't look for the big company guys to come do renovations or repairs. I look for the small guy. I'm like, hey, you got this. Okay, one of my buddies I went to school with, he got a lawnmower, landscaping business now. He keeps all of those up. And, I try to open doors for people, but everybody doesn't have the mindset. A lot of people want the reward, but they don't want to put in the work to where you get to do the reward.
Now, okay? Okay. That was my son.
Oh,
But
no
he's
problem. Nope. Oh, you good.
he's observing nature. I love when he like does his thing because he's looking at this one spot in the yard where it's like the whole thing is grass, but there's just one spot that's not covered in grass. So he's looking at all the different plant life that's in it. He had to tell me about it. So the mindset that you're instilling in your children is so very much needed, and I do greatly appreciate you speaking on this stuff today as well, because it's like This is how I really like my content to go, where the spiritual stuff is important. It's very much important. It's grounding that spirituality into realizing what's necessary. So it's like people will do the whole om and then sit in the grass and ground and meditate. Faith without works is dead. So it doesn't even matter how much you sit on the ground and how much you vocalize certain tunes and frequencies. If you don't take the necessary advice that's given, or you don't act on the exemplified perspective, if you look at an example of something that is good in life and you think it's either a self-confidence thing or an out of the norm thing, okay, we're all weirdos. We all are, interested in things like crystals and frequencies anyway. So why is it that someone making upper six figures, someone who owns millions of dollars in assets, someone who owns multiple businesses, why is that weird? Why is that a weird concept to indulge there? Like, what's wrong with being woke and wealthy?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with it. And see, I'm a truck driver, and I deliver. Basically, a truck driver is an underpaid tourist. Well, I used to be an underpaid tourist, but basically that's the way I look at it. I mean, I literally load my trailer up with other people's stuff and drag it up and down the road. And a lot of people don't realize without us, it doesn't matter whether it's what you need or what you want. You can't get it unless the truck brings it. And the trucking industry is suffering now because, I know somebody who might see this is going to throw rocks, but when Obama signed that NAFTA trade agreement that let all of these foreign companies come in here, and that's what killed us in COVID. We already had enough. They say, you see those commercials, there's a shortage of truck drivers. No, there's not a shortage of truck drivers. There's a shortage of experienced truck drivers like myself, because they'll hire somebody right out of school and pay them peanuts, but they won't hire somebody like me that got over 2 million miles of safe driving experience, because they know they got to pay me. And that was another reason why I became an owner operator. And they don't want to pay you. Companies see, they're like, well, we'll give you this. I'm like, no, I'm not an elephant. I don't work for peanuts. You got to pay me. I mean, my credentials, I have the high, a lot of people don't realize it, but a CDL is a Class A license. It is the highest license that you can have in the United States. And it's not easy to control and drive a truck. You get people that want to play on their phone and play with you, and, that's the FAFO situation. I won't explain that, but you playing with your life. But I learned a long time ago, my father got in a truck when he came home from Vietnam in 1972, until he started losing his hearing and his eyesight 5 years ago. He's been in a truck his whole life. That's a black man that went to Vietnam at 17 years old. Well, after 17 years old. But anyway, fought for our country, came back, and you literally got to slave your whole life for what? And I learned a long time ago that it's not about playing the game, it's how you play the game. So I learned on my own. I went on classes online, and I learned in secret about financial stability. And it brought me to an epiphany. I said, yeah, I might drive a truck, but I can have an empire. Nobody will never know it. I'm not the flaunty type person. I don't wear jewelry. My kids buy me watches and stuff all the time. I'm like, I don't need that. That doesn't personify me. Personify me is making sure y'all are strong to make it through this world when I'm gone, and building this foundation that all of y'all can benefit from. And they're seeing it now as they get older. We have to build that foundation, especially in black communities and our families, where, look, people get mad at me. My kids even got mad at me when I told them the civil rights movement was a joke. I'm sorry. I mean, you could throw a rock at me too, but let me explain it to you.
Go ahead,
It was a double-edged sword, and here's why. It killed our black communities. We had our own butchers, our own barbers, But you want to go shop at these white people where you still, to this day, get treated like trash, but your money is equal to theirs. But everybody left the black communities and putting money, recirculate money in the black communities to go shop for these white people that to this day, they look at you like you're ready to steal something in the store.
Okay.
It was a double-edged sword.
It is so amazing that you brought that up. So I don't know if you're into tarot or oracle reading. So on my spiritual channel, I do that. And let me tell you, exactly what you said came out. You just confirmed so much of what was said in that reading. So I'm over here talking about, hey guys, so we're in a new world now. You know what I'm saying? The whole 2020 thing happened. We're in 2024 now. We need to focus on what we learned in these past 4 years. We got this new political competition. Why do we have the same two candidates running? Like, really think about it. And I'm talking about generational wealth. I'm talking about passive income. I'm talking about, like, expanding businesses. If you already have one, if you're a career person, think about how you're going to make your next career move. I'm talking about that. All of a sudden, I pull my cards out. Malcolm X shows up. And Martin Luther King shows up in reverse. So Malcolm X, he's up, he's speaking, and his card is in the upright properly. Martin Luther King comes in the reverse. And I was like, what? And then the judgment card comes out. I was like, what? And then I started like talking more about what happened. I was like, a lot of us nowadays, we see how they both fought for the same things, but from a different perspective. And we see how Malcolm X should have been valued more then, but he's valued more now. Where we have Dr. Martin Luther, well, I don't know if he's a doctor, but we have Martin Luther King III. What's he doing currently? That's no shade, no tea. The honest truth is, okay, your lineage fought for civil rights. We have equality. We have it. We have the right to vote. We have the right to office. We have the right to voice our opinions. When it comes to certain things, we have that. At the same time, we're not treated equally. We're not treated fairly. We're allowed to be around white people, but we still have things like the Tulsa Massacre. We still have things like we haven't been paid reparations properly, confirmation. We haven't had situations where we still have issues of redlining, where even if someone wanted to go to the hood to live a certain type of way, they're not able to get the proper resources and backing, where if they were to live in a more middle class area, despite whether there's white people or not, just because it's a certain price range in a certain area, they're treated differently based on their zip code. None of that even makes any sense. If they fought that hard for civil rights, why do we still suffer in certain ways currently to this day? So what you said, oh my gosh, yes, it was a joke. The way that everything happened and the lack of results, like, were there results? Yes, but there's such a lack of results that we have now today, where we just had Black Lives Matter, BLM, scam millions of dollars out of the American black people to buy crappy real estate, not even what you have going on, not commercial real estate that's actually going to help the community out, to help entrepreneurs, to help people who have their own businesses, even people who have franchises, they could come in and lease your property. Not even that. They bought residential property that's not even good for like luxury Airbnb. And it's like, so we still have stuff like this going on. We still have that going on. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is sad because, like I said, I've been coast to coast, and when the movie Green Book came out, you know, a lot of people were just learning about what they call sundown towns. I've been through a lot of them. You know, just the other day before I went to Iowa, I was at a little place called Summerville, Georgia. I had to deliver a load, and then I had to go pick up a load. And it's in between I-59 and I-75, like going down to Atlanta in the mountains. And people don't realize when I go through a town driving this truck, people see my truck, they're like, okay, for a truck driver, they're like, oh man, he got a decked out truck, it's nice. But when certain people see my truck, they're like, what's he doing driving that truck? And I've been in places where people come up to me, and, you know, I used to have my truck in truck shows, international truck shows, nationwide, California, Texas. They even started one in Atlanta, but I didn't want to get shot, so I didn't go. But, you know, I mean, Atlanta, Memphis, I love those cities. Don't get me wrong. Those are my people, but I'm not bulletproof. I'm sorry. You know, and, you know, people are telling me, they come up to me and they're like, well, are you driving that truck? What is that the company you work for? I'm like, no, that's my truck. And just the look on their faces when they see, I'm like, see that name on the side of my truck? It's like Custom Fit Transport, but it's owned and operated. That name on the side of the truck, that's my name. They're like, I shouldn't have a truck like that. Yeah, I shouldn't have a nice truck decked out. I'm sitting here now. Everybody else is running their truck burning fuel. I'm running the APU and solar panels on the top. I'm in AC. I'm cool. But I shouldn't have a truck like this. It's like I go home. I'm like, how you driving this car? I'm like, what do you mean? How am I driving this car? I work. Well, I know you work, but you're a truck driver. What does a truck driver have to do with me working? See, y'all figure, but just because I have a certain job title, that I'm not supposed to be the owner of the company I work for. Well, I'm the manager. I'm not the owner. And, when you tell people this stuff, like you said, this is how you sit there shaking your head. They're like, and, everybody thinks that every week I'm supposed to show up at church and drop $10,000 in the collection plate because I might have made that much in the last month. I'm like, why should I give you 10% when y'all couldn't even give me 1% when I was trying to build? And like I said, my granddaddy, he might raise up out of his grave and haunt me in my sleep tonight, but, I'll be all right. Throw some holy water on him, tell him get on back. But, there's just so much we need to learn as a people that we're blind to. They let everything that black people have had, we have fought for. We have worked for, we have earned. And when they go out here and, I love my sisters, but when I see these lashes, your natural hair is so beautiful. Mine's gray as hell. I used to have dreads, but when I go and see these lashes, I'm like, and then these females out here talking about, oh, I can't find a good man. You're not looking for one. The good man is not looking for you. The good man is out here in Walmart, the gas station. He's busting his behind working hard. He's not looking for a trophy. I can't look for a trophy person. And I guess, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm meant to be single anyway, but I'll be all right. I got my kids. I've done that. I'm old enough. I'm too old for games and everything like that. My thing now is not just financial wealth. My thing is more financial wisdom and security. And if we would all get to that, and like I said, I know some people see me going live with you, some of my people, and they're like, man, you said, what about civil rights? Yeah, it was a double-edged sword. It destroyed our communities. It made us weaker because, after they pulled that civil rights movement, oh, yeah, you're equal. No, we're not. I said, why does Section 8 DSS target black people more than anything else? They'll come take your kids, put them with somebody where they're going to be violated, mistreated, than rather you have them, and you got all the black men out of the house. With a black man, I was lucky I grew up, my parents are still together. They might hate each other sometimes, but they're still together. 62 years of marriage, you can't beat that. You can't. And we need more families like that. We need young black families that got a mother and a father in the same house, but, Section 8 come in, oh, we'll give you food stamps, Medicaid. Hey, you don't even have to pay rent. Kick them out, put them on child support. And that was part of that double-edged sword.
So my battery's low.
Okay.
So my apologies. Great conversation, and I do appreciate you coming on because you made so many amazing points. And this was a great grounding session. Like I've very much chill vibe, relaxed here.
I see you sweating.
Yes, the sun just now went down, but this was the perfect timing for this conversation to spark not just interest, but for people to see a living example of what is possible. Because a lot of people don't think your life is possible, and even from your perspective at your age, it's people still are stuck thinking that black people, especially black men, gotta be these broken, just sad, miserable figures. And it's no, we're all supposed to be the opposite of that. I get it. A lot of us are coming out of that mindset, but to see someone who's out of that mindset and out of the lifestyle, it's hard for them to not be envious or jealous. And it messes up their minds. It conflicts what they think is real, what they think is reality, because they look at nothing against 2 Chainz. I love 2 Chainz, but they just think if you're supposed to be successful, you're supposed to be like 2 Chainz. You're supposed to be like Future. You're supposed to be like, no. And then you're not even supposed to be like Jay-Z with the marriage and the kids and the stuff. Not everybody has to be a successful black man the same way that Jay-Z is a successful black man. You're doing more for a lot of people than Jay-Z is. And that's what a lot of people don't think, because it's like you're providing something that's sustainable. That is something that you can reach. That is something that biological, whether you're talking about, okay, 8 kids is a lot of children. And people think, oh, well, I had kids and that stopped my life. No, that's not how
It
that
didn't
works.
stop me.
The more
It
kids you have, actually, you're supposed to be more motivated by the more children you have. So
exactly.
I love it. I greatly appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna go though before my phone dies or overheats or something. But is there anything you would like to say to close out?
No, I appreciate you finally bringing me in. I was able to sit here and catch you on one of your live things. But like I said, keep that positive energy. Just look for me in the comments.
All right, then. You have a great evening. Once again, I do appreciate you coming on, and I will see you another time.
Yes, ma'am. You take care.
Alrighty.
Bye.
So, yep, that's it, you guys. Make sure you take your time to ground as often as necessary for you, whether that's daily. He said multiple times a day for himself. It's summertime, so it's hot. Whether it's super early before the sunrise, or if you like that really, really good sweat, do it in the afternoon at high noon. If you like your evening times, whatever the case is, I'm getting back into my gardening routine. So, I'm out early anyway, or I'm out late anyway. If you have a garden, highly consider integrating, or if you're separating your grounding from your gardening, whatever the case is, man, this is a beautiful time to realize we are free. We actually are free. It's just, okay, what is your definition of freedom? What do you want to do? Okay, curate your life towards that. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter anything. Do what you want to do. And that's how it's gonna be for yourself. All right, you guys. I'm finna go though. This was fun. This was a great time. Bye.